I really do appreciate you sharing your story, man. That's a lot, man. That's a lot to deal with.
I have confidence in things that I shouldn't have confidence in. I get on a plane and I'm like, the pilot doesn't make it today. I mean, I could probably land this motherfucker. How remarkable it is that she did what she did. That's insane. I love it, man. That's cool.
Tell me about the tattoo you're getting.
So this tattoo came from a sketch that my sister-in-law did when my wife and I had our first son, Gideon. Mm-hmm. And Gideon didn't make it. So the sketch is, my sister-in-law is an artist, and that's how she kind of conveys her feelings. And it really meant a lot that she shared it with me first off, and then that it came from that. You know, it was like she literally drew it while we were in the hospital, and she saw my wife holding our son. And so I thought it was neat that her perspective was to draw Gideon as a heart, like almost like my wife was holding her own heart, you know. So that's where it comes from.
Is that, so now you have a son now?
I do. I have Theodore, and that's kind of where I created the second meaning in it. And I asked Boodro to kind of make the heart a little beat up, so he put a patch on it. And so Gideon was born in 2017. Theodore was born in 2019. And for me, Theodore's he's kind of the patch on my heart. You know what I mean? Like, if people would ask me 17, 18, 19 before Theodore was born, if you asked me if I had a kid, I would just say no. I couldn't talk about it, you know? And so Theodore's kind of what makes it okay to talk about Gideon for me.
And so how long have you've had the sketch since 2017?
Yeah.
Has it been the idea that you were going to turn it into a tattoo for a while, or when did that hit you? That you were going to...
Yeah, it has. It's just one of those things, man, where I've kind of hesitated, like getting it put on me. Not because of the meaning behind it or anything, just not really sure what to do with it. You know, it's because it's a pretty simple design, but it means a lot to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want people to be like, what's that tattoo, and me not be ready to tell them what it is. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now you feel like you're ready to answer those questions if they come up.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. You know, Theodore was born with heart defects. My living son, and so he's had 3 open heart surgeries, and that went in from the chest, and then one that went in from the side. So that was a 4th surgery, and there's just always kind of been this constant underlying fear that I guess I couldn't really get this tattoo yet because I wasn't sure what was going on with his heart.
Right.
The heart might need more patches on it. You know, I don't really know. But he just finished up with one of his surgeries, and he's cleared for a little while now at least. And so it's like, you know, it's kind of like I'm in a good headspace with it right now for it to be that.
Yeah, like the timing is correct.
So how old is your son now?
4. Yeah, man. He turned 4 in April.
So do y'all like share with him like the story about his brother and stuff, or is he too young still?
No, we talk about Gideon. Like, we tell him he's got a big brother and stuff like that, but we don't really go into really heavy details about it. Yeah, he's just not there yet. You know,
just to let him know that he did have a brother.
And we've got Gideon's ashes, and so, you know, he's asked questions about that, like, and we'll just say, you know, that's your brother Gideon, and he's not here. So it gets really complicated because, you know,
he's young,
trying to figure out what he can handle and what he can't. And then I think too, like, this whole experience made my wife and I, our views don't necessarily align like they used to, which, you know, like I think she believes in an afterlife in a lot of instances, and then I'm just kind of unsure. Yeah. You know, so it it really affected and impacted both of us differently in that way.
It's interesting.
And so I want to respect the fact that she believes in it. So if she tells him that, Gideon's in heaven, then I don't want to be pessimistic and say,
Yeah.
no, he's not, just because that's what I believe. So
I'm sure it's different having to actually carry them inside of you too.
yeah, and she fought, man. She fought so hard. We had miscarriages and stuff, and so she fought really hard for it.
Yeah.
It was it was work. She was on like hormones and stuff, so she sacrificed a lot, and so it was really heartbreaking. So it's a big deal.
Do you feel like with Theodore? Do you feel? I mean, I've never lost a child. But I can only imagine that your attachment to him and just the perspective that you must have with having him has got to be a completely different thing. How do you feel like, does Gideon show up in that relationship?
Every day,
much?
man.
Yeah.
Just like the appreciation. I was just talking to somebody, and they were talking about like disciplining kids and stuff, and I was raised where you were kind of put into submission with your parents would whip you, and so it's like we've tried to make a conscious effort to not necessarily whip him, but to discipline in other ways, and I think part of that is the way I was raised, but part of it is just having this underlying appreciation that he's still here, like knowing that at any moment that could change, and just not wanting my last interaction with him to be a whipping before bedtime or whatever, So I think I definitely put a lot more thought into parenting than my parents did.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's such an interesting thing generationally to think, just this conversation again, right? Like you being pretty open about how you feel about it and how it's impacted you, and just the fact that it happened. I don't think these are things that generations before us were talking about openly with each other.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you're putting that thought into how you're spending your time with Theodore now is big. And, it could be a completely different life for that little boy had you not had the experiences that come before him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, and I've also talked about like, it took me, this whole experience impacted in a lot of ways, impacted my relationship with people too, because, like sitting in that hospital and even fighting through when my wife was fighting through carrying and like put on bed rest for weeks before and all that, and then to lose him and feeling so defeated, man, it's like it impacted my relationship with my dad in a negative way, because he just, like at a time when I just wished my dad would have just shown up, he didn't. Mm-hmm. And it's literally taken me like 6 years to get to the point where I kind of forgive that, because honestly, my dad and I have never had a comfortable relationship talking about emotions, like that's just not what his generation does.
Do you feel like you were pretty capable of talking about your emotions before this experience, or was this experience the turning point for you?
I'm pretty open emotionally. Like I'm not somebody that thinks I'm a pussy if I cry or anything like that. I've just never really been like that, I mean, it's.
Is it the fact that you're like 6'7"?
I mean, there does come. I mean, I'm really confident in who I am. And
where's that come from?
Honestly, probably
being 6'7".
I think it's just because of the influences that like coaches, and I was in the military, and I just done a ton of shit that I think people didn't think. I just done things that were challenging when I was young, and so, and maybe I wasn't great at it, but I done it, like I completed it. I did martial arts and I've lifted weights a lot, and I've done some pretty remarkable things. And so it's like, it's weird. It's not good to be like that, because there's times when I have confidence in things that I shouldn't have confidence in. Like, I get on a plane and I'm like, if the pilot doesn't make it today, I mean, I could probably land this motherfucker. And I have never flown a plane, like, that's bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've done things that weren't expected of you, or that you overachieved with a level of confidence, I'm not positive that that's a bad thing. I think that's probably a pretty healthy mindset.
Yeah.
All things being told. I mean, at the end of the day, you'd rather have that than the opposite, is what I would imagine.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't want to be scared to do things. But saying that, though, so like I'm relatively new at doing stand up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's crazy, because I think the bravest people are like when I see like Jack, 17 years old, getting up there, or Nick that lives in Chicago now or whatever, and just seeing these young guys that are, even Ethan, 22 years old. I'm like, I had balls to do a lot of crazy stuff, but
Right.
I wasn't confident in my abilities at that age.
One of the more fun things that's happened in the last year, I don't go to the open mics as much as I did, but we were at one, and there was a lot of people there, and I was standing by the door, and everybody's walking out, and there's a guy who walked on stage, and he was ex-military. I think he might have been a SEAL. He was a high level military guy. Paratrooper is probably what it was. And I could tell he was nervous on stage, and then he came off, and I was like, how do you feel? He said, man, it's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I was like, to me, it's wild that this guy literally jumping out of airplanes, and he's like, that's the scariest fucking thing. It's interesting. So does that scare you? What scares you now? You weren't scared of a lot of things, but some things scare you.
I'm still not scared of like physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that's ever really scared me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tone it down now because I've got a kid to think about.
Yes.
But I've never been afraid of physical pain. But what scares me now is something happening to somebody that I care about, like a catastrophic loss in my life. And stand-up is scary to me too, because the stand-up that I do, there's always an element of truth in what I'm saying. And so it's not just the facade that you're putting on in public. There's really a piece of me in that.
Intimate.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of a catastrophic loss being scary to you makes so much sense, man. I mean, you went through a pretty big one, so you know how that feels.
Yeah.
And being afraid of that, I can't imagine. I totally understand that.
Yeah, that undertone is kind of always there when you're parenting. The trick is, like, I think every parent, so somebody told me that one time, and they had no idea of my history, but they said, they knew that we had Theodore, someone that I worked with, and they said, something to the effect of, congratulations, and enjoy worrying that someone else is in your life is going to get hurt at any moment, or something like that, And it's really true, and it's super true for me, because
Right.
And
You have a history.
but it is like it's one of those things where at any moment a text could come in that is completely innocent, or and I'm just immediately thinking, whoa, what's going on? Like,
I do
why
that
is
a
this
lot.
here? This person doesn't contact me.
Right.
So
Expecting the other shoe to drop.
yeah, at any moment. Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that impacts like living in the moment for you?
I think to some degree it might. Like I can't help at times but to be like a helicopter parent. So, and I try to be conscious of that and not allow it to let me do things that'll be detrimental to him. Like, I don't want him to be raised inside of a bubble, but at the same time, man, there's even now, like, kids are so vicious, man. Like he got a new pair of shoes, and he was excited to wear them. It was like the first pair of shoes that we really let him pick out, and this has been like a year ago. And he come back home and he just wouldn't wear them. And when I talked to him, he's like, such and such kid told me that these aren't fast, which in a kid's world is heartbreaking. And I was like, I wanted to go punch a 3-year-old, man.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'll show you fast.
I want to jack that kid up. So, and I think sometimes it's just being conscious of that and trying to get control of it and take a step back and realize that he's going to get scrapes and bruises. My job's just to make sure that, I can help him get up when he needs help, but it's okay for him to fall. So.
Anything about the leaps that you've compare that to what would have happened in that same scenario for you as a child?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a dad that listens is big. I mean, I've got adult kids; they're all in their 20s, and I'm so grateful. I had a moment where I realized one of my kids is really only calling me when things are fucked up.
Yeah.
He's in his 20s. He really only calls me when things are fucked up. And I got a little salty about it for a couple minutes, man. I was like, this fucking kid only calls me. Every time the phone rings, I know it's him and I know something's wrong. And then, man, my brain was like, how fucking cool that your kid calls you when things are bad.
Yeah, that's what I want, man.
I don't have that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I never had that with my dad. He's not the first guy I think of. I'm the first guy my kids think of when things go bad. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm really lucky to have that. You can look at it in a bunch of different ways. So it's great that you've been able to take that relationship that you had with your dad and just build upon it. And then with the idea that Gideon's life has now really positively impacted Theodore's life.
Yeah, it wasn't for nothing. You know
Right.
what I mean? It kind of felt like when it's just lost and there's nowhere, you don't really know where you're going with it, kind of feels like it was all for nothing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's, paying tribute to that love you had for Gideon. Wait, have you talked to your wife about this tattoo that you're getting here, and have you mentioned it to your sister-in-law that this is what you're getting? Or
Yeah, I told my sister-in-law that I was going to get the tattoo, obviously because it's her artwork. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like, I didn't want to just snatch it and her not know. But and then I've told my wife, and I think my wife's really she's really reserved sometimes, so I'm not really sure how she feels about it. Not in a bad way. I just think that I don't think she understands, to me, how remarkable it is that she did what she did. That's insane to give your body like that, and to walk away with like nothing. That's crazy, man. Thinking.
Is this part of your healing also?
Yeah, I think so, man. I have to have pain to heal, I guess. Even though this is minor, like a tattoo's minor, you know, like I've got to reflect it outwardly. It can't just be internal, I guess. I'm weird like that. But like going back to when when we were talking about dads, like I think recently what made me forgive my dad, which needed to be done because my dad and I didn't necessarily have a terrible relationship. I just had a
wasn't
pretty
the one
rough
you wanted?
upbringing. Yeah. And so I think somebody said to me, they said, well, you've got to remember that our parents didn't have the benefit of the internet, of a cell phone. If your dad wanted to learn how to parent, he either had to talk to the guy at the mill that was doing it the same way he was and that was raised the same way he was, or he had to go to the library and check out books. And so, when I realized that, I'm like, yeah, it's not really fair to hold him to the same standard. And it doesn't mean that the stuff that he did, some of the stuff that he did was okay necessarily. It just means that I understand the frustration, and I have the benefit of figuring out how to get around it in a healthier way. So that's really what helped me on that front.
Yeah, I agree with you. I parented out of fear.
Yeah.
my thing was, I'm going to scare the world away from harming these kids. Don't come near them. Rah, 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 rah. And I was fucking barking and yelling at everybody. But it turned out, they were right here too. And while I was barking and being mean at everybody, keeping them away, I was holding them in a bubble almost,
Yeah.
It's like I was so afraid of anything bad happening to them. And bad things are always going to happen. They're going to happen to everybody. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
We can't stop that. But because whatever happened to me, I couldn't ever deal with thinking that stuff happened to them. And so I can imagine for my parents as well. Can't imagine the shit that they went through. And they did not do a fantastic job, but they did their best. And when I heard people say they did their best, I was like, well, that's bullshit, because it's really easy to do better. But it's not. If you don't have an example of it, then you don't know what to mimic,
And I think too, if you go back and look at old shows that were on television that were popular, like the dynamic is, the honeymooners, Jackie Gleason, Powell writing the kisser to the moon.
How bang zoom right to the moon.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's that's the example of like masculine energy that was portrayed over and over and over again. And I mean, I even remember my dad didn't like the Brady Bunch. Like, we would watch the Brady Bunch on TV Land, and he'd be like, that guy's gay, and well, he was in real life, I guess. And so I just kind of assumed that's what he was talking about. But looking back, I think it's just because it showed a loving relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it showed a relationship that was healthy in a lot of ways.
Well, that's how when I watched those shows when I was a kid, I mean, I was raised by TV pretty much, but when I would see shows like the Brady Bunch, I would look at it and be like, what a cool fantasy television show these people have made. You know what I mean? Like,
it's funny you say that, because my life.
If this show was real, somebody had hit somebody with a phone right now.
Yeah. Dad would be mad that the beer wasn't in the fridge.
That's right,
or whatever. But it's funny you say that, because my lifelong friend, he lives in Maryland, and both of us come from pretty rough, pretty poor backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And he married into a fantastic family. And the first time I seen his wife's family and interacted with them, I was like, this can't be fucking real, man.
Right.
Like, this just
it's
can't,
weird, right? It creeps
you
out.
with
it's
me?
like, this exists. Like, this is real life. And the more I get to know them, genuinely, the better they become. It's like, what is like, where are the bodies? You know what I mean?
It always does. I have a joke I tell about, like, I always, whenever you're watching like a sci-fi movie with somebody, you're like, that's not real. That couldn't be. That's how I am when I see happy people.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't buy any of this shit. That could never really happen.
Yeah. There's no way these people are that fucking happy.
Yeah.
The time on stage, like with the little bit of real in there, is that a healing also?
I think so sometimes, yeah. It's I've always been the type of person that even in general conversation, I prefer to make you laugh. It's easier. And I can talk about fucked up shit and find the comedy in it, the funny stuff, and tell it in a funny way. And so for me, it is kind of funny. The only time it's uncomfortable is if people are used to you being funny and you tell something that's fucked up and they laugh. You know what I mean? And you're like, that wasn't a joke. Like, that's really me. So that's really the only time. But
when it gets a little sad.
Yeah. When you're telling something and you want somebody to be like, and they're like, ha ha ha. That's not good.
Yeah. But it is an interesting thing when you're that type of person, and then you find comedy and you realize, holy shit, I'm not alone. And not only am I not alone, I'm in a room full of the same type of lunatic.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
That's what I love about it, man, is it's like, my dad came to the first round of the UCC. Mm-hmm. Really the first time he's ever come to watch me do anything. I mean, whether it be sports or, so I was kind of happy he was there, but then I was also kind of nervous in a strange way.
What did he think?
He thought I was funny, but my dad in his typical fashion, like, he came up to me and it wasn't like hard trash talk, but he was like, you were the best, and that person wasn't funny, and I took it personal because I know those people, you know, and it was like, it's like, wait a minute, man, like they're funny, like that's, you know, you don't get to say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You haven't bled with us. Yeah.
You don't get to say that shit. But you know, it's for him. I think it was like his way of motivating, kind of like when a dad tells, like, you're facing down the county champions in a basketball game or something, and your dad's like, they're pussies. You've got this. You know, that was his way of saying it. Yeah. Because he knew I was nervous about how the votes would turn out, you know, or whatever. But I just took it the wrong way. I was like, no, man, you don't get to say that about him. He's funny.
Yeah. It's interesting. What was it that? How long were you eyeballing comedy before you showed up? And what was the thing that tipped it over and was like, all right, I'm showing up tonight?
Whole life. I wanted to do it since I was like literally like 15 or 16. And you're gonna laugh. This is how big words have an impact. When I was like, I think 16, I was out on the football field, and I remember the moment. And there was a kid there, and we were all telling jokes and stuff, and just kind of being funny. And this one kid, Russ, who's a friend. I mean, nothing against him, but somebody said, you'd be a really funny comedian. Like, you'd be really funny and good at that. And Russ is like, nah, man, BJ just tells stories that are funny in the moment. I don't think he could get on stage and do it. And so for the longest time, that lived in the back of my fucking head. Like, every time I would think about it, that was really the only words I'd ever heard about comedy when I'd said, I'd like to be a comedian. That was the only feedback I ever had. So that one thing lived there forever. And then my best friend would always tell me, like, man, you got to do comedy. Like, you can do this shit. Like, you just have to learn how to do it and take it serious, and you can do it. And the turning point was I was 40. I was getting ready to be 41, and I'd promised myself that before I turned 41, I'd do it. And so it got down to literally like the last class that Steve was going to be teaching before my 41st birthday.
A workshop at the Idiot Box.
Yeah, and so I was like, I've got to do this. But I still would have never went to an open mic. I mean, I was like, I didn't go to an open mic while I was in that class. I was adamant that if I was going to do it, I was going to know how to do comedy. Like, I guess.
Are you going to show up knowing how to do it?
Yeah, I did not. I didn't think. It was a different experience. Like, all the nuances of comedy and just learning how. And I'm still very green at it, but just learning how to write jokes and where to put the punchline and just, you know, tags and stuff. It's fun. It's a fun experience. I didn't think I'd enjoy the writing process as much as I do, to be honest.
Well, if you enjoy the writing,
right?
Yeah, if you enjoy the writing, then you're doing well. I mean, that's the difficult part of it, really.
JD says I should just get up there and talk, and I'm like, man, when I do that, it's a train wreck. I'm not.
I think it's ultimately ends up being a mix in whatever works personally for you, right? I mean, there's no rules. It's just guidelines, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
It's like being a pirate. Pirates of the Caribbean. More like that. Yeah.
God damn it. All right, I got a couple. We running through some. We did some heavier stuff with you, so I got some sillier stuff that I got to ask you.
Yeah, man.
And we'll just run through these, and it is what it is. Are you a candy bar guy? You like candy bars?
You can look at me and tell that.
If you can only have
around a candy bar.
If you can only have one candy bar for the rest of your life, all the other candy bars don't exist for you. What's the candy bar you choose right now? Gun to your head.
Reese Cup.
Reese Cup.
Reese Cup.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Room temperature Reese's Cup or in the
cold? Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I love that gas stations have started throwing those in the refrigerated section now. That is fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Reese's Cup. Good answer. Fast food. You can only have one fast food restaurant for the rest of your life.
Shit. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. What's your order? What do you got?
Chick-fil-A, I'm going to do either is it breakfast? Are we doing breakfast? Or
You can get whatever you want at the restaurant. That restaurant exists. If we go to that restaurant right now, what do you get?
I'm going to get the Chick-fil-A sandwich meal and the fried chicken sandwich meal, and I'm going to put the sriracha dip and hot sauce on the sandwich.
Okay. What's the drink?
Diet lemonade.
Diet lemonade.
I think that's the first Chick-fil-A I've heard in here.
I think it's the second.
Okay.
But we haven't had a lot of them.
Sleeper.
One potato chip you could have for the rest of your life.
Doritos. Can I count those Cool Ranch Doritos?
Cool Ranch, yeah. We got a red bag from EB, but Cool Ranch would have been a better answer, I think. So I'm going to go with that.
I agree. I'm a Cool Ranch guy.
You're a Cool Ranch guy?
Yeah.
We constantly talk about television from when we were kids, and there's always jingles that live rent-free in people's heads. Do you remember any jingles that you saw on TV when you were a child that still stick in your head?
Yeah.
And if so, could you sing it?
Yeah, I'll sing the one that I think is probably the most prominent to me because I did join the Army was be all that you can be, get an edge on life in the Army. Yeah, that one.
It worked.
That one's probably the most prominent one. And then it's not really a jingle, man, but I remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle song.
Okay.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant
Did you know
Ninja Turtles.
They're coming out with a new movie. There's a new book called The Last Ronin.
Yeah, I've already read about it.
You read it? Oh,
Yeah.
you read about it?
Yeah, I've read about it. I've not read it.
You should read
I
it.
love the premise of it. Am I ruining this for people? Is this like
I don't know. There's no,
Is this like a big reveal? Well, all the turtles are dead except one. And
One of them lives, yeah.
And he's going to exact revenge
on the other clan's family.
And then from what I understand, Reddit's great, man. Reddit's got like some cheater boards on this. But and from what I understand, he does die. And it ends with like Casey Jones training for new turtles. Is that right?
Almost. No, not really. No, not really.
Well, damn it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not as excited.
You really, well, it's better than that.
Okay.
You should read it. It's really, if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, The Last Ronin is a phenomenal book. It's a pretty easy read too.
Yeah.
You can get it on the Kindle for cheap.
I'm going to do it.
You should. It's really fantastic. All right. We did potato chips. We did the jingle. Two more questions. You have to have one of these. It's got. You can have. It's just such a stupid
Must
question.
be a good one, man.
Yeah. Well, Seth came up with it, so we've been asking it. You can have foot ears or ear feet, but you got to have one of them.
Feet on my. So I've got feet up here.
Feet for ears,
and
they are
ears for
ear-sized feet. Or you can have ears on your feet that are foot-sized.
Ear feet, man.
Ear feet.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's final answer, man. Yeah, man. I got to be able to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think ear feet.
I think you could still walk with the
or feet ears. Which one's which?
So you got feet on the ears.
Yeah, feet on the ears is me all day.
Yeah, feet on the ears.
That's what everybody's going with.
No, we just had ear feet from Drew, and
you
he's
could hide
going. He's going foot ears.
Oh, I thought Drew said because he could hide it with his hair.
No, he said he can hide it with shoes. Yeah.
Okay.
So. You be a killer swimmer too, I would think.
Yeah, you got
you got a little
flipper almost.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could like hear like stuff coming too if you're standing. You're like, oh, there's a herd of buffalo
You don't have
coming.
to listen to the railroad track.
Yeah.
You can just put your foot down.
I'm putting my ears down.
I'm putting my ears to the ground.
Take a hard stance.
All right, last question. We'll walk you through this. No two people make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich the same way. It's much like a thumbprint. You know what I mean? A fingerprint. So, you a peanut butter and jelly guy? Like a peanut butter and jelly?
I'll do peanut butter and
You
jelly.
have access to everything. It's a perfect peanut butter and jelly. You go in your kitchen, you grab your bread. What kind of bread you grab?
Just good old white bread.
Good old white bread. You have peanut butter. What kind of peanut butter is it?
Peter Pan, creamy peanut butter.
Creamy peanut butter. I love it. Your jelly is?
Strawberry jam.
Strawberry jam. You go into the drawer to grab a
spoon.
Grabbing a spoon. And then you got 2 pieces of bread. You take that spoon and you grab
peanut butter first.
Peanut butter first. You put it on 1 piece of bread, 2 pieces of bread?
1 piece of bread.
1 piece of bread. And then you grab that same spoon?
Same spoon.
and you go into the jam.
Nope. I'd go back into peanut butter and just eat a whole spoon by itself. Then I go jam.
Then you go jam. That's fair enough. That way you go into the jam with a clean spoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And now you get into the jam. Do you mix the jam up, or you just take a scoop and put it on the bread?
I mix it because it'll be kind of.
You have
clumpy.
to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, smooth it out. And
Coagulate
then that goes
it.
on the other piece of bread.
Yes, sir.
And then we slap those two bad Larrys together. Do you cut it?
I do cut sometimes, man, but I'm not consistent.
It's how you feel.
Yeah.
When you cut it, do you cut it the same way every time, or do you cut it
Triangles.
triangles?
Always triangles, never rectangles.
Yeah, it means people loved you when you were young. A lot of people cut it in different ways. So,
Oh, what's the bread brand? That's hard to say fast.
I don't know, man. Like,
I'm picturing Wonder. This sounds like a job for
Wonder
Wonder
is the
Bread.
one that sticks out when somebody says white bread. To me.
Yeah, I think probably Wonder. Like, just I'm real indiscriminate on bread, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go Wonder or Bunny.
Yeah.
Maybe Bunny.
Bunny.
I grew up near a Sunbeam bread factory,
Oh yeah,
and it smelled like bread. It's still there in that town I grew up in.
yeah.
That's how Jamestown is, man. With that bakery in Jamestown,
Oh yeah,
you travel through there, and it just smells like
smells lovely.
fucking great.
I got
Right.
really lucky growing up around so many bakeries and things like that. There's like big bread bakeries, but then there's so many because I grew up around a lot of Portuguese
Oh yeah,
people. There's tons of bakeries fucking everywhere. It just smells delicious all the time.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I went to college and there was Heiner's Bread Factory.
Okay.
You'd smell that in the morning when the fog hadn't gone away. It was like everything was stuck to the ground. Real nice.
Ashboro, when they got the cereal plant, they got Malta-Meal cereal,
Yeah.
and man, it just smells like their version of Fruity Pebbles. Sometimes
Okay.
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the worst smells I ever smelled in my life. I worked for a wastewater treatment company, and one of our clients was Frito-Lay. And I went there, and it was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life, still to this day. And I was like, what the fuck are they doing here? And they were just making Fritos. It's what Fritos smell like before they make them. And I think it's most chips smell like that.
It
It's
smells like dog. I bet.
really horrific.
Yeah. So Frito-Lay story. One of the last times I was on a plane, a lady sitting next to me puts her feet up on her knee, and her fucking toes smelled just like Frito-Lay.
That's not good.
Dude, it was horrendous.
Well, that's how they make them. They press them with their feet like one. And
Corn
Horrendous.
chips,
Yeah.
man.
After she finished scratching her feet, getting this funk into the air, she spent about every 30 seconds scratching her crotch with her thumbnail.
Cheeto dust.
Yeah,
That's not good.
Yeah.
that's not good at all.
You didn't say nothing?
Yeah,
What am I going to say, man?
You were sitting right next to her.
Yeah.
See, don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I mean? You might try that.
I just felt like I was in like some kind of Hitchcock
Yeah.
thing or something. Like I was fully expecting, like a Lost episode.
That's why I don't like leaving my house. It's just people, you know what I mean?
I'm just the opposite though. That's why I'm afraid I'll miss something like
Yeah,
that.
I got FOMO.
You know what I mean? Like inside the house, there's nothing crazy
Yeah,
going
Yeah,
on.
I'm
you
the
know?
same
That's
way.
what I like.
Yeah, my son might do something wild, but other than that, it's boring.
You're not getting Frito toes.
No, I know. Yeah, I don't want them. I don't want them. No, thank you.
Worst smell you've ever smelled, BJ?
The worst. Well, see, I work. So funny that he said that. I work in the environmental industry, and
Okay.
I used to be. I used to do what they call industrial services. So we went into places and cleaned up, and food processing plants are some of the nastiest. Like you could go into a manufacturing facility that manufactured air conditioners or whatever, and no smell whatsoever. Food stinks.
Yeah.
man. So bad.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Where are you, Boodro?
About to put the color into the heart, man, and we'll be finished.
Oh, yeah.
About
Where'd
10
you grow up,
minutes.
BJ?
Ashboro.
Ashboro. So you grew up near a few of our friends, Neil and
Neil
Dusty.
and I went to school together. He graduated a year ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Did you guys know each other back then?
Yeah. Yeah. Small school. Well, smallish, but yeah.
Tell me about what it's like growing up there.
Typical small town, not much going on. Let's see. Just a lot of poor people, man, and so it's a lot of, when you're poor growing up, you don't want people to know you're poor. So it's like a lot of fronting.
Oh.
You don't.
It's like we're all poor, but we're trying to
we're all
protect.
poor, but we don't want to be poor.
Yeah.
We would rather not.
And it's embarrassing to be poor, even though
Yeah.
everybody's poor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's poor, but you don't want to be poor, and and then there's also a pecking order develops, and the middle class, the upper middle class kids, definitely like run the show.
Yeah, well, we
I
got
was
name
fairly
brand
popular.
chips.
I wasn't unpopular,
Yeah.
but it's just because I can kind of navigate between either world and make people laugh, and comedy is that's really so. Like I was a terrible kid in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Because my parents had gotten a divorce, there was like a lot of anger. I was in a new school, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. But 9th grade, I had figured out that people would be like red on the head like the dick on a dog, and I would want to fight them. And I learned really quick that if you don't fight them, if you just make them laugh, it's a lot fucking easier. you know?
Yeah.
And so I just got funny. And
Hurts a lot less, too,
That
I'm
helped
sure.
a lot. Yeah, that helped out a lot. But yeah, man, you didn't want to be on the bottom. Even if you were poor, you didn't want to be the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Because fuck that kid.
yeah, it's a strange dynamic, man.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. It's like I'll take my free lunch, but I still scratched up 35 cents for my ice cream. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
Like,
right,
I'm
right.
poor, but I ain't no ice cream poor.
And you said you saw that commercial, the Army commercial. You ended up in the military, so the commercial worked.
Yeah.
Were you the first person in your family to go to the military? Or
Yeah, I'm the first person to do that. Probably, as far as I'm aware, other than like cousins, kids, and stuff, still the only one.
Was that the only way to get out of being poor and being around all the poor people?
I think it's the only way I saw to go to college. You know what I mean?
And you knew college was the way out?
I figured, but it's not, man. Let me tell you.
I saw it in movies, man.
Yeah, it's not, man. I left a $40,000 a year job in like 2010 to finish college and come out to make $12.50 an hour. It's like I had to take 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Take a step up. So
This didn't happen in Goodwill Hunting.
it's I wasn't a math fucking genius. I wasn't a math genius, But it was, yeah, man. It's looking back. I guess I kind of wish it wasn't really my dream. It was just my dad had always said, "You're smart. You need to go to college," and he had seen it as a way out.
Did he go to college?
No.
See, that's that example of
You're
that
supposed to do that.
parenting, right? Like
Yeah.
I need you to be better than me.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I can succeed is if you are better than me.
Yeah.
So I need you to go to college, because that's what was missing in my life. So if you get that puzzle piece, then I
Yeah.
know that you're better.
You'll be somewhere up. You'll be above me on the ladder.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody's trying to get their kids up a rung.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
kind of
that's
the way it feels.
and really, it's what you're trying to do too, right? I mean,
Oh yeah. That's
if it's
what
not financially, it's emotionally, it's
Yeah.
intelligence, it's something.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I told my wife. I said, it's crazy that my wife and I are talking about like our goal. My dad's goal was just to get me to graduate high school, and then I could go in the Army and go to college, and somebody help pay for it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've told my wife, like, my goal is to be able to help Theodore purchase his first house, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I see what it takes to build wealth and financial security, and it took me a lifetime to learn that. And I want him to know that coming out of the gate. And that's what I'm going to hopefully give him. But it's like my dad was just giving me the best advice he could give me on the income that he had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like,
Well, is it our parents' generation that just watched, like, what was perception is every college graduate of their generation got what they wanted?
I mean, our generation was raised by a generation who was raised by a generation who came out of the Depression, right? And in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, a college diploma, a college degree, really was the difference in getting a job or not.
yeah,
And now, because they were right, everyone went to college, and it's just not what the standard is really anymore.
it's become what that old high school diploma was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because you can go to trade school as an HVAC guy and come out fucking killing it.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
killing it.
Yeah. I always, when it came time for my kids to go to college, I've never had any money for a day in my fucking life, so I wasn't going to pay for it. But I also was very much not interested in them going to the military. If you want to go to college and that's the thing you want to do, I really think you should. But for my kids, I was really hoping that they would take those years off in between and like find something you love. And then if to do that thing you love, you need to go to college, then you can go to college. But you need to travel and what's good to you, what's interesting. The amount of people I know that went to college to get a degree in something they haven't touched since, or couldn't get a job in, is immeasurable.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. My degree is in emergency and disaster management, but I've never worked in emergency management.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, my job did require a college degree, but if I'm being honest, anybody could fucking do it. It's
You
just
ever had to shit in traffic? That's managing an emergency.
I had to show Neil my master's degree to get this job. I mean,
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we made Seth go to college again.
Yeah,
to get this
I had to go
podcast.
back.
That's, so many people now, that's what I think some people are stuck in that perpetual cycle of education, man. That their undergrad didn't work, so they're like, fuck it, I'm going to get a master's. And it's like, how much debt do you have to take on before you realize, man, just cash it in and become a mechanic?
Yeah, I mean, there were people like my grandmother was a career student. She loved being at school. She loved learning. So when she went back, salute. You know what I mean? But if you're going because, I don't know. If you're just going to get a job, just find a thing you love. I think is the thing. What is Theodore super into? What is 4-year-old Theodore? What's he dig right now?
Animals, man. He loves animals. So I've told Seth this before. He watches animal documentaries and then hits me up with facts that aren't really facts.
Yeah.
So he's like, he watched one on the Everglades and they were showing alligators and birds, and his take from that was, hey, Dad, alligators don't live in trees. And it's like, all right.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not. That is correct. But that's, you know what I mean? Like, he watched an eagle sit on a branch and an alligator in the water, and his take from that was that they don't live in trees.
just
Yeah.
writes.
Like,
I heard Attenborough say there, the alligators do not live in trees.
that's what would be great, is if they could get Attenborough to do some type of animal documentary where he just says,
How's everybody know this guy? And I don't.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and he didn't know who David Attenborough was. So.
what? This guy's a legend, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is.
Any animal documentary.
Planet Earth, Life, any of those documentaries? You ever watch any of those? No. Yeah, that's why you don't know.
Boudreaux shakes his head.
That's a pretty good impersonation.
It's just Winnie the Pooh, but an old man, kind of sounds like Winnie the Pooh.
It
a little
actually
bit.
is. That's funny that you said that.
Yeah.
We need to get this guy to voice over an episode, calling the shots of what we do on this show.
Yeah, we'll get Seth to do it.
Yeah.
Put it on the list, Sethy boy.
Yeah. Murphy, put that down.
You holding it?
We're good.
Yeah, check it out.
Cool, man. I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, let me take a look. That's awesome, dude.
I really do appreciate you sharing your story, man. That's a lot, man. That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks, man. This was fun.